So hello everybody, and welcome to the ECR Community Catman Network webinar, and you're very welcome. I'm delighted that you can join me here today from many different countries across the world. My name is Declan Carolan. I'm co-chair of ECR Community, and I'm going to give you just a brief introduction into our webinar today and set it into a little bit of context. As you're all aware, we launched in November 2020 a global review of category management practices around the world, and we called it Category Management Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. It featured 14 case studies plus some insight articles and some expert articles focusing on all things category management, and it was really well received. Downloaded in over 70 countries to date. Most of you probably have downloaded it at this stage. But it is available on ecrcommunity.org if anybody needs to download it at this stage. And you know, while we did have 14 case studies on included in the review, it was important in that we tracked the development of category management yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And Brian and Luke did a lot of that work in looking at category management from 1993, then how it moved on, which was introducing the shopper and looking at their needs and wants in a systematic process-based way for the first time. Then moving on to what we have today in omni-channel marketing, and looking forward to the future in terms of integrated consumer and shopper marketing, and all that entails in order to make that successful. We backed up the review by hosting 3 webinars in January, February and March this year, and we combined it. We used it to combine some education and insight, where Brian and Luke presented at the beginning of each webinar now an insight piece or some form of education, some of their knowledge taken from the review to allow us to think about the process and to evaluate it and consider what's next in the evolution of category management. We had some great presentations from many different countries throughout the world. Dunnhumby presented with Metro Canada, Yagora with Jack Links Germany, and Hofrogge with Rewe and Coca-Cola in Germany. And we added to that with presentations from China, from Italy, from Ireland, along with some brilliant ECR Community presentations from France, Italy and Germany, looking at things such as total store optimization, omni-channel category management, online category management. Really good insights there. At the end of the 3rd webinar, we conducted an online poll for all the people who were in attendance. And you may not have, any of you who were on that webinar may not have seen the results that came back, and they were very, very positive. We asked people to rate from 1 to 7 the series of ECR Catman Network webinars, and the average score was 6.1. And we asked them to rate the review, which I'm just after talking about, and the score was 6.4. So extremely positive feedback. When we asked people what would you like to see featured in future ECR webinars, there's quite a lot of consistency. We've got many answers, but I could group them as follows: more case studies. Really, the 14 case studies that we had in the review and the case studies we've presented to date whetted the appetite in terms of learning about best practices and current practices and the evolution of category management and sharing that learning. One of my favorite sayings about category management is a rising tide lifts all boats. There's little point in your company being so far ahead of your trading partners in terms of expertise and credentials in category management if your trading partners don't have the talent, the expertise or the processes to keep up or to liaise or collaborate with you at the very same level. Shopper insights. You know, the last 18 months has showed us the importance of shopper insights. The next 12 to 18 months will no less weaken that need for shopper insights, and it's never going to go away. Most of our category management, all of our category management projects are built on shopper insights and understanding their needs and wants and trying to service those needs. So there are always different ways of getting new shopper insights. And that perhaps could be a focus of future ECR webinars. Online category management featured widely in terms of whether it is omni-channel, e-commerce, online trading, and how to influence the shopper at their point of purchase, whether that's on the digital path to purchase on the way to an online purchase or within the portal itself and making that decision. The 8-step process and education, plenty of feedback, people wanting to understand more about implementation. We had a great presentation, as I said, from Hofraga, which showed within Reve and Coca-Cola how mass implementation can proceed, and a best practice for doing that. And it's so hard to nail implementation, and yet it's so critical. Sometimes category managers feel as though the job is done when they press the send button on their planograms. Well, for those of us who worked in retail and worked on the shop floor, we realize there's a long process ahead, not only in implementation, but in maintaining planograms and making sure planograms always look like the realograms. And education, as data evolves, as we get more software in place that allows us to analyze data coming from various different data sets and giving us a mean or common average, I think there's always a need to educate ourselves on new technologies and also in terms of new processes, as they're surely going to develop with the development of technology. And finally, what came through, and I didn't expect it so much, was the category management structure in companies. Many companies are focusing now on revenue growth management. What does that mean? What does it entail? How does it influence or impact the role of a category manager today? And is it universally being adopted, or is it only in certain countries, certain regions, certain jurisdictions, etc.? So that was some of the feedback which we got from the courses. As a consequence, we're going to do two things. But first off, we've decided to schedule 2 more webinars to allow those companies who presented in the category management review to have the opportunity to present their presentations. So today we're going to hear a presentation from Mars, Greece, and Birra, Peroni in Italy. And in November, in the 5th webinar, we're going to hear from Nestle in Brazil and Heineken in Ireland. And both presentations, I'm going to talk about the hashtag ECR Catman Network. And today I'm going to release the first proposal in terms of what a Catman network will be, an outline of the structure and format that it might take place, and a proposal on some focus areas that ECR may concentrate on. In effect, we're looking at setting up a global category management association. And I'll present a few slides later on today. And then I'll be joined by Dr. Brian Harris and Luc de Melanaire, just to have a discussion over some of the focus areas and see what's exciting them in terms of the future and why we should go this direction. Okay, so let's focus on our first 2 presentations today. So I'm delighted that we're going to be joined by George Vlastos from Mars in Greece and from Alessia Angelini from Birra, Peroni in Italy. George is going to talk about blending global-led innovation with local consumer and shopper insights into a new consumption occasion-based category vision for a successful rice category business plan. And then Alessia will look at developing a category business plan to recover declining sales in the beer category, in the hypermarket and supermarket channels. The 2 great presentations. They're 2 topics that many of us as category managers will have to look at and have to consider in our roles. So let me see if I can welcome George onto our virtual stage. Hello, George.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? Are you well?
Very happy to be here with you today. I'm ready to present. Tell me if you see my screen.
At the moment, we can see your email, George.
Now, do you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming through. Yes, we can see your first slide, and there it's on presenter mode. Over to you, George. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Vlastos. I'm the Senior Category Manager for Mars Hellas for Greece, Cyprus, and Malta, and I'm very delighted to be here with you today to present you, to guide you through this very nice project that we have done with one of our partner customer. Its name is My Market in Greece, regarding the rice category. So to start with, the food segment has a clear core purpose, which is a better food today for a better world tomorrow. And this practically means, this practically means that we know that every day we touch billions of lives, so we want healthier food. Just to name a few 96% of Uncle Ben's products follow the World Health Organization directions regarding sugar, while Uncle Ben's at the same time in the latest years has reduced 8% the salt in our products. Moving on, we know that the category vision our category vision is based on the major consumer insight, which is how to solve the dilemma for our dinner between fast and easy or healthy. So we want to offer healthy, easy, affordable, and tasty choices to the households for their dinner. We want to practically target this sweet point, which is in between those four major trends that shape the dinner for today and for the future, which is healthier dinner, easier to be prepared, affordable, but at the same time also tastier. We know that those category drivers are coming through significant insights that we have from the shoppers. So the first one is that the shoppers have less time to cook. So as you can see in the graph on the bottom left, you see that in the 90-80, the time that they were spending in kitchen was around 60 minutes, while in the recent years it's around 34 minutes. This has to do with more women working and also due to the very fast-paced environment that we all live in. Secondly, is that they want a tasty outcome. We know that the millennials and Generation Z and the new generations are willing to have different variety of dishes and more tasty, and they are more demanding from their dinner. At the same time, the third major insight is that especially those generations are looking for healthier solutions. And as you can see in the graph here, you can see that as we go from silent generation to the Generation Z, as you can see with the blue bar, the percentage of people that are willing to spend more, to spend premium on products that they offer healthier solution is getting higher. So this is clear an opportunity for the categories. Finally, that they are good value for money, that this doesn't necessarily mean to be cheap, but actually to give a good reasoning why to pay the premium for this product. So a few things about the rice category in Greece. It's a 50 million euros category. 1.1 million of plates of rice are consumed daily in Greece, which is actually 40% penetration in the plates with carbs. But until 2017, as you can see also in the graph here, the category was in a declining trend, and it was quite much commoditized, mainly through price war and too many promotions in the category. At the same time, we know that the 4 key category drivers, as we said before, it's a taste to connect, which is actually how to establish the category and how to penetrate in the households. And the data in Greece show that this figure is very, very high. It's almost 93%. So practically all households in Greece shop at least once per year rice. The second is easy involvement and affordable values, and the third, so those two are mainly related how to expand the category to increase the frequency of consumption and also the frequency of purchase, which is the frequency of purchase in particular for Greece, it's only 7 times per year, it's quite low. And finally, the health and wellness, which mainly has to do with how to maximize the category and how to premiumize the category. And we know from shopper data in Greece that this is 2.5 euros per trip. It is evident from this data that our focus as a category is to really propose new innovation that can really help the frequency of purchase and also the spend per trip. So, ready-to-heat proposal, which is this kind of SKU, in case you have never seen it before, can deliver on those trends and break many barriers to the rice consumption. So, one very big barrier of the rice category is that it's perceived as dull. So, this range of exciting flavors can add interest to a meal and really can help consumer to do recipes that they cannot do on their own. Secondly, the deciding amount of rice to cook with Uncle Ben's ready to heat, also coming in a convenient 250-gram pack can deliver also in the right serving size, minimizing the wastage. The third barrier is getting the right outcome. It's a strong insight that we have from consumers globally that many of them find difficult to cook the rice. With this kind of format of ready to heat, also this barrier can be overcome. And finally, the barrier of lack of time, which is very big for the rice category, because a standard cooking time of dry rice is about 10 to 20 minutes, can be also overpassed with ready to heat, because you can have your meal in 2 minutes or less. So what we did, collaborating with one of our partner customers, which is called My Market, which is number 3 customer in Greece with around 9% share in FMCG. We set up a clear plan. We agreed on the deliverables and where we need to focus for the rice category regarding frequency spent per trip. And then we selected carefully the right SKUs among a very big variety of ready-to-heat SKUs that they are available in UK. We find the right ones, and then we built a compelling trade story for the customer using many insights from the Greek shopper. For example, that health is also very high in the agenda of Greek consumer, which is number 2. 89% of consumers would like to eat one extra meal at home every week, but they don't do that either because of lack of time or lack of any new ideas on what to want to cook. 60% of the shoppers have not decided what to eat for dinner until 2 o'clock, and then always it comes in your mind to just to order something. But at the same time, the last insight, which is very important, is that there is a significant decrease of takeaway meals in Greece. In the last 6 years, it's minus 23%. And of course, this has to do with crisis that was present in Greece. And ready to heat can really help in this direction the shopper. What we managed to achieve with the customer is to achieve an amazing distribution for all the SKUs that we proposed. And at the same time, as you can see in the first photo, we managed to achieve a very good shelf layout with ready to heat being grouped all together in the diamond area, really visible for the shopper, and really in a nice way in order to penetrate and really try this new segment. We focused a lot behind the visibility in the stores with displays and also special POP materials, as you can see in the first 2 photos, which are close also to the butcher area in order to drive the cross purchase between protein and rice. Of course, we used a lot the sampling throughout the first months of the launch in order for the shoppers to get to know with this new proposition, to really understand the outcome of having rice in just 2 minutes. And it was really important for them in order to unlock the penetration and the trial. And of course, all of these were orchestrated by the right promotional plan, for which we also had many leaflet insertions where we have specific messages. As you can see here, it's in Greek, but the meaning is how about a tasty and easy dinner for tonight, promoting the ready-to-heat proposition. The results were simply amazing for the customer and also for Mars. My Market managed to grow in the first 2 years of launch by 10.3% RSV in a category that, as you saw in the beginning, was in a declining mode. And My Market managed also to reach almost 10% value share, gaining 0.5 percentage points versus 2017. So really great job for My Market, and they were really happy behind those figures. At the same time, as you can see here in this graph, it's the average price per kilo of total Greece versus My Market. So in 2017, when we started this project, My Market was under indexed versus total GR, while you can see that in Q4 2019, My Market managed to reached at 2.75 euros per kilo, which is plus 13% versus the starting point of 2017, over-indexed versus total GR, and the majority of this growth in the price per kilo came from ready-to-heat. Finally, for Uncle Ben's, we also saw very good results. Between those 2 years, we saw a plus 74% sellout growth in total Uncle Ben's, and you can see that ready-to-heat with the light blue managed to reach at 4.3% share within the category, while our rest portfolio of Uncle Ben's Dry did not affect at all. Actually, it increased also from 11.3 to 12% share. So, to close the presentation, I just want to share with you some learnings that we had from this journey of this project. So, first of all, the in-depth knowledge of your category and the assessment on which areas you want to focus needs to be done, and needs to be clear on where you want to focus and why you want to focus on those areas. Secondly, decide on your innovation pipeline based on strong consumer insights in order to have the right for the shopper to accept your innovation. It's very important to engage internally, of course, the organization, especially in such a difficult case where you are launching a totally new subsegment in a category. Of course, you need to find the right partner, and this is what we did with My Market, and engage them as much as possible with a compelling category story. Set clear KPIs, of course, and last but not least, best-in-class execution in the stores. It's always very important in order the strategy to really materialize also in the stores. Thank you very much. That was all from me.
George, well done, and thanks so much. You know, another classic category management project, firmly rooted in the shopper insight, and you some great shopper insights there. And I love your last slide where you show the learnings, George. Tell me, in your opinion, what are the key elements where category management function adds value in cases such as the one where you presented?
Declan, I think that category management must play a key role in the organization, because many times the innovation that comes from the marketing teams might be only focused in how to win share for a brand, but the actual mindset should be how to grow the category, and then also maybe how to gain share. So the category management needs to have a really active role and in this innovation that comes as a proposal to the retailers. Secondly, it's very important to conceptualize this story and actually transfer it to the customers, so externally but also internally, in order to engage all key stakeholders. And also, one very important thing is how to actually propose the right planograms, the right shelf layout based on strong merchandising key beliefs that you need to have as a company and as category management, and also to have the right promotional plan compared to what the rest competitors are doing as well.
Wow, very good. Really well constructed, George. Let's not move off without talking a little bit about the effect of that the pandemic and COVID has had on the category. What effect have you seen on the category?
Since COVID, we have seen a great increase of the total rice category. Of course, in the first lockdowns that we had in Greece, there was a panic buying, and the rice category is one of the categories that really grew a lot, because it's one of the main categories that the shoppers will go to stock. Although we would expect ready-to-heat to decrease its share in the market, meaning that due to the lockdowns, we were expecting maybe that people will have more time to cook because they are more time at home. Yet we were very happy to see that still in 2020, ready-to-heat managed to increase higher than the category, and increasing its footprint in the category, and really helping more and more to premiumize the category even after the pandemic.
Okay. Look, you may have heard me talk at the beginning that we're looking at setting up a global ECR Catman network next year. And I think we will have more webinars. And anything from your end, any topics that you would like to see us feature?
I think, Declan, that the most interesting things to see in this kind of webinars is, first of all, case studies. They're always very practical and to the point, and it can really inspire us to think also how we can leverage those case studies in our categories. Also, it's really important also after the pandemic, you know, the role of online has increased a lot. So anything related to online category management, of course, it's very, very important. Also for this community, I guess. So this would be the two topics.
Perfect. Okay, George, thanks very much. If anyone has any questions for George, feel free to put them in and I can run them by George later on. But George, in the meantime, thanks so much for participating and sharing your knowledge of category management, and look forward to talking to you and seeing you later. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Declan. Thank you.
Hey, Declan, am I allowed to make a comment?
At any time, Brian.
Okay. Hey, George, well done. Thank you so much. You know, the interesting thing as I listen to this is this is a very good example of how you revision and remarket a category to reflect the current consumer trends. I mean, that's what it came down to, right? I mean, really being very clear on what are the drivers, what's driving what consumer trends are driving the category today, and then developing a new vision for the category, and then executing that vision through an integrated category approach in the store. I mean, and look at the results. I mean, it's the old story that simple, little important things can make a big difference if you have a solid foundation of thinking, of methodology to be able to, you know, get rid of some of the obstacles that have been in our way in the past, and be able to basically, you know, rethink the category and where it's going, and make those adjustments to remarket it and move forward. So I thought, you know, George, it was really great. It was a simple message, very simple message, but very powerful. So really, thank you so much for that. I think that's a lesson that all of us can take away of the benefits of good category management. So thanks again.
Thank you, Harris. And if I can also add something, just for your information, imagine that after the category being negative for so many years, as I showed in the beginning, the last 4 years, it's the total category, because afterwards we roll it out ready to hit in also other customers. The category is growing steadily, but growing, and it's also big reason behind this growth is also ready to hit segment.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. Okay, good. Just want to make that comment, Declan.
Well, thanks a million, Brian, and well done, George. Brilliant. Let me see if I can introduce Alessia from Birra Peroni in Italy.
Hi, hello everybody.
Hello, Alessia. How are you? We can
Hello,
see your
fine, thanks. Do you see my presentation?
I do, yes.
Do you see the screen? Yes, I put in white screen. Okay. Sorry, but I switch off my cam because my connection is not so fast. So I prefer switch off the cam. Okay. Allora, thank you, Declan, for this invitation. For me, it's really a pleasure to participate to this webinar. My name is Alessia Angelini, and I am head of trend marketing of Prime's channel for Birra Peroni. And today I'll present Birra Peroni approach and methodology to develop a category management plan to recover sales in the beer category, focus on hypermarket and superstore. Before starting, I would like just to give you some information about our company. Birra Peroni was born in 1846 and from 2016 is part of ESI Group. In Italy, we are the second player of the market. We have more than 700 employees, and we produce more or less 6 million of hectoliters with a turnover in Italy about of 350 million of euro. So, as I told you before, we apply the methodology that I will now show you on different retailers of Italian beer markets. In terms of background, we concentrated our project proposal mainly on hypermarket and superstore formats because they are both suffering in terms of sales performance. A sales decline is due to a stronger competitiveness in terms of promo pressure, together with a greater assortment complexity on the shelf. And the recovery opportunity is increasing the reach of high spending consumers and increase the closure rate of shoppers. Our target is beer shoppers, in this case in north of Italy, which are also consumers in 90% of cases. And they usually buy 2 liters of beer every 3-4 weeks on average. And in a few years, inputs rate increase really strong, from 20% to 50%. And the reason is that the multiplication of SKU on the shelf. So in this moment, only 50% of shoppers plan to buy the category, and the impulse purchase is usually guided by convenience. So the main challenge is to attract consumers with a higher spending potential to create value for us, for our partner. About goals of the project, the main objective of the project are the following two. The first one, to recover sales, total sales and no promo sales for the beer category in the hypermarket channel. And the second two, to improve assortment and the shelf visibility by increasing the closure rate. And for this point, we have a particular focus on no-alcohol beer, radler beer, and gluten-free, because shoppers who look for a healthy lifestyle are usually less sensitive to the price and promotion. And now we'll move in how we structure the project and which tool use. We started from a complete and unbiased study of shopper behavior through shopper research run with our inside department. And the main outcomes is how the shopper interacts with the beer category. So consumer divide beer into 3 types to match different needs. The lager beer for a routine consumption, I mean usually for food pairing. The no-alcohol, radler, and gluten-free to match with healthy trend. And finally, special beers for a rewarding moment. Inside special beer, usually shoppers identify 4 types of beer: red, strong, weiss, and special lager. Everything else is still really confusing. And the last outcome is that the consumer shop beer in glass or cans, and usually cans are used for consumption away from home. So the shopper behavior and the decision tree determine our category approach. We identified 3 main drivers. We divided the beer category in bottle and can, and bottle are split in lager and specialties with the subcategory, and the branded pack size are the last driver of shelf obstruction. About the project implementation, our shelf approach reflects the shopper's behavior, and particularly the occasion of consumption, as we can see, at home versus away from home. That means that the shelf have a clear separation between can and glass format. The typology, I mean beer segmentation in lager, zero alcohol, radler, gluten-free, and specialties divided by subcategory. And finally, the brand and price. And the shelf should have a clear identification of the brand and of the convenience scale. And this is an example of a beer shelf in a hypermarket. And as you can see, the traffic flow is the opposite to the convenience one. So the shopper browses the shelf, starting from a special beer with the subcategory. And then the shoppers meet the lager. And our recommendation is that the nub, radler, and gluten-free is separated from the other lager for a better identification of the subcategory from the shopper. And finally, we have the other lager, the economy, and the can. Before starting with the project, we shared the insight that we have seen before with the retailer that chose Birra Peroni as partner. And the new category in-store approach was developed in synergy with the retailer, starting from the shopper decision tree in order to simplify the assortment and to increase the readability of the shelf. And implementation was constantly monitored at the store level just to ensure the maintenance of the new display over the time. Just some tips about quantitative and qualitative results. About quantitative results, overall the project contribute to improve trend of category in terms of sales and of promo sales, and to reverse negative trend, in particular of no alcohol beers. Also, we had for our product a real reduction of out of stock, mainly due to a deep sales analysis in terms of rate of sales, following the right share of shelf for the retailer. Usually for a correct measure of the performance, we consider two periods. Previous period, that usually is 3 months before the project implementation, and the actual period, 6 months after project implementation. And in this case, we run the project on a retail operating in the north of Italy. Yes, you can see from the table, we have very good result also in the first year, where the sales improve by 3 points. In this case, the no alcohol beer segment varied by 11 points, and also in year 2 the results show a really good performance. About qualitative results, we improve visibility on the shelf of the entire category, in particular of no alcohol beer, as you can see in the picture, and we improve the visibility of Birra Peroni portfolio. I mean, product at high or hand level. And this really facilitates the shopper browsing and purchase process, and with the following increase of the shopper closure rate. Declan, I finished my speech. I don't know if you have some question for me.
Alessia, thanks so much. That was very clear. I could hear you throughout, and the presentation was great. Tell us, such a complex project, what were the major barriers that you faced during the project, Alessia?
We face two barriers mainly. The first, the international category partnership agreement with our competitors. But we overcame this barrier because our shopper study was embodied and built on shopper behavior evolution, and this give an alternative to the competitor approach, where usually brand was the first and predominant driver. And the second barrier is the maintenance of display layout over the time. It's really difficult to keep the display with the new guideline, but we solve this thanks to support to our in-store key account, which constantly visit the store involved into the project and rework the display if necessary.
So just that last point, Alessia, if you could repeat. So you had problems with the maintenance of the category, and what did you do that improved it?
I think that the key advice is keep investing on shopper analysis for a constant update of consumer trend, shopper behavior, and exploit more tools to better reach our shoppers.
Okay, Very good. Look, what advice would you give to your peers who would be considering investing in category management?
It's really important to involve partners who are available to share the data, because it is really important to better address the project, have the data on consumers. So only retailer can give us the data, this kind of data. So we have a real partnership with the customers that we involve in a category project. And this allows us to give a project with good performance and with continuous alignment with the retailer on shopper behavior and evolution.
Great stuff. Last question for you, Alessia. Is there anything that you'd like to see us feature in the category management network in 2022?
So for me, it's very useful to be part of this community and have the possibility to see how category management is developed and implemented over different countries and markets. My personal expectation is to see a presentation not only with the final result and project implementation, but also with the approach and methodology used in different markets. So I hope to see a different case study and the way in for other countries to build a category project. I hope that my presentation could give you this kind of value.
It sure did, Alessia. Look, listen, thank you so much for presenting to us today. Really appreciate it, and absolutely your presentation, along with George's, fitted in perfectly well with the presentations we've had to date and the positive feedback we've had. There is a real thirst and desire to learn from each other in how we approach the methodology and ultimately how effective our campaigns were. So thanks so much, Alessia.
Thank you to you.
Okay, everybody. Look, great if Brian and Luke are there. If you could turn on your cams. I'm just going to go through a couple of slides, everyone, on the ECR Capman network, and then I'm going to have a quick chat with Brian and Luke in terms of their views on it. So, taking from the feedback we had after webinar 3. We're investigating very strongly at setting up a global category management network. Now, what does that mean? It's a network to develop and share category management knowledge and experience, to track the latest relevant category management related hot topics and technologies, to focus on effective interaction and collaboration, and to provide a forum for showcases, discussion, debate, and learning, very similar to what we've seen from George and Alessia today. We've had a little chat, and I'm going to come back to this slide, Brian and Luke, after my slides. We've had a little chat amongst our ECR community group on what the focus areas of a category management network should be. And as you've heard, I've asked George and Alessia the very same questions. And these are the focus areas that you guys gave us from the last poll. I'm going to rattle down through them. There's a few here. It should be relevant for mid-sized retailers and suppliers, not just multinationals, for mid-sized retailers and suppliers, and even for retailers and suppliers from economies that are developing category management and not yet mature. We should be sharing the best case studies from around the world. Let's host webinars on new trends impacting category management. We should be able to showcase new tools. Let's look at the digital readiness checklist and perhaps developing checklists for other relevant CM areas. Maybe we'll have a virtual annual conference. Maybe we'll have an annual global survey of category management professionals and their views and how they go about their operations. Maybe we create a directory of category management professionals. We could look at training with a global audience, probably online training. We should not only focus on FMCG, but also in other sectors, pharmacy, and we've had some pharmacy presentations on this series, but DIY, non-food, others. Of course, online category management, e-commerce, omni-channel, critical to any category manager today, to have an intimate understanding and be able to call upon your knowledge and the processes that you know when you need to, not that it's too late. New technologies, we need to keep up with AI. or an e-commerce personalization, individualization. You've heard Brian and Luke talk about personalization during our previous 3 webinars and how it can support the CM network. We should arrange targeted initiatives, whether they're webinars, workshops, to share knowledge from CEO level to middle management level to newcomers level to student level to any level that a practitioner needs to solve shoppers' needs and wants. We've absolutely got to focus on having retailers involved. Retailers are critical because if we're going to talk common language, you've got one retailer will talk to many, many suppliers. Retailers need to be involved. Sustainability, we all know, is a hot topic at the moment, so we should focus on what category management initiatives have links to sustainability and at least be sustainability friendly. That should be a given, it should be a must. Collaboration between retail and industry is critical. We could look at biannual category management trend webinars. Could be a good way to look at category shifts, lifestyle change. Perhaps, which was one nice idea, maybe we should have prizes for the best case studies that are presented during a period of time, whether that's a year, or maybe we have an award ceremony where we present the best case. And absolutely, let's look at new processes such as revenue growth management and how that impacts on the world of a category manager. So our first step is to form an ECR steering group. And we want the best and brightest minds in category management to be part of this group. We're thinking about a large steering group with about 24 people, with about 8 representatives from ECR nationals throughout the world, about 4 category management experts, which would include Brian and Luke, and maybe 2 others, about 6 retailers and suppliers, and about 6 service providers. That kind of setup that we're looking at. And we would see such a setup having 5 meetings per annum. It would, of course, need to have would be representative in terms of regional representation. And the task of the steering group really would be to oversee the operations of the ECR Catman network, looking at the preparation of webinars, determining hot topic areas, identifying technologies and work groups, etc. But why would someone joining such an ECR steering group? We think there's plenty of reasons, but we're open to you to consider these and to assess them. Global networking with leading category management experts and practitioners, I think, is vital. I mean, even just George and Alessia, resubstantiating the feedback we got from the survey after webinar 3 and how great it is to see category management projects from start to finish, from problem to idea generation, insight, methodology, action, implementation, and results. That peer-to-peer engagement between retailers and suppliers on a neutral level, on common ground, I think is absolutely essential. And it's the basis of how many ECR nationals work across the world. So no reason why we can't define that into a stream of category management. I think there'll be learning for other leaders in category management. I think for service providers, there could be the opportunity to develop business opportunities. There's an opportunity to present to a global audience at webinars, such as we've done in our previous 4. We can be showcasing the category management credentials of an organization. So beyond doubt, people have heard today from Mars and Birra, Peroni, and I think George and Alessia have represented the in-depth knowledge and expertise they have and implementation excellence that those companies present. Leveraging the new category management paradigm, which is something Brian and Luke are close to. Let's look at consumer shopper segmentation and category insights, consumer mobile technology, the battle for the mission, personalization and targeting, e-commerce, AI, and let's learn from a global stage. So there could be the benefits of joining a group. We think we will have about 5 webinars per annum with about 90 minutes maximum per webinar, very similar in structure to today, spaced out throughout the year, and a mix of the format of any of the topics which you see there, whether it's insight, action, technology, hot topics, focus areas, participant interaction, and Q&A. As you all know, webinars can be very one-directional. I'd like to try and crack that and have more interaction between participants, even if it is on a grander scale. With 75 people online today, at some of our previous webinars, we've had 200 plus. How to engage that is a challenge, yet I'd like to see more interaction. And then there's various ways we can communicate in terms of the ECR Community website, LinkedIn, social media, etc. We really want a small business model here. only a business model that will support the operation and those resources from ECR Community. So we think all of the webinars that we put forward in the category management network will be free to attend. Small amount of support from sponsors we would look for in terms of primary or secondary sponsors. We think service providers on the steering group, that there would be a fee for that, and likewise for retailers and suppliers on the steering group. And those what we think are going to be small amounts would contribute towards supporting the running of a global ECR Catalan network. But of course, there would have to be some sponsor privileges in terms of speaking slots, and they would of course be relevant for topics such as insight, technology, or hot topics, branding on the website, and a seat on the steering group. We all see as though they would be very worthwhile and very attractive things to have for service providers. So let me turn over to Brian and to Luke, and thanks for joining me today, guys. How are you? Are you well?
We are well. Thank you, Declan.
Yes, thank you, Declan. We are in excellent shape after these two perfect presentations. To be honest, very clear. I was impressed. And I really see a lot of the new things already in what Greece and Italy. And by the way, I love Peroni beer. I'm a Belgian. I'm a beer drinker, but when I come to Italy, Peroni is my favorite. I can tell you.
Well said.
It was a good afternoon already because of that. I learned about the Peroni beer in Italy.
So tell us, Luke, while you're on a roll there, what's exciting you? We've had good discussions on a category management network. What's exciting you, Luke?
Well, I'm getting more and more excited about this ECR Catman network because, when we look around us, we have two lenses to look at how the world is changing. Yes, and anyone who is concerned with bringing her or his products to market sees these two things in the market that dominate everything. First of all, we have seen a changing consumer. Yes, and we talked a lot about segmentation and the evolution to artificial intelligence and so on. But at the end of the day, I think in Italy she said we have to get the consumer that spends more money on the category, that has a higher spending index in the market. So bringing in that dimension, the segmentation, the who is key, and that is really the fight. The purchase power in the market. How will you gain it? And that's for me a first lens. The battle for attracting the people who will spend on your product, on your category, and their life. Yes. And the second thing is that these consumers, they actually have different user occasions. They are more on the go. Women get up more working. There is less time for cooking. We heard Giorgio about this. And the third thing about this first consumer dynamics is that the consumer is shopper at the same time. Yes, so for me, in the focus areas, that's a big lens. And if we are democratic and we listen to all these members, that's the first thing they should be considering. Look through the list, what is of your concern about the target, where they shop and why they shop. Yes. The second big lens is the evolution of technology, because retailers in particular invest heavily in technology. And if you want to be part of that as a manufacturer, you have to understand what is going on there. And this is why digitalization, e-commerce, omni-channel, the apps in shopper marketing, the 8 steps of category management need new insights. Our consumer shopper journey insight is the model for that. And so the technology is the battle out there. How are you going to be part of this? That's the second lens. And in that context, when I walk through the list, most of these things are valid. But if we have people from pharmacy that are dominating our group, well, let's focus on that. So we have to listen and looking through these two lenses to get our global ECR network going, because there is so much work to be done. But I think we have to focus on these two lenses. I don't know, Brian, what is your thought about this? But that's my first take when I see that list.
Yeah. Well, I think what's so interesting to me is that you know, here we are 30 plus years on from the introduction of category management. And if our project proved anything, it proved that it is unbelievably alive and well on a global stage. I mean, as Declan said, the response to the report was unbelievable. I think 70 plus countries, thousands of people downloaded it. I mean, if we ever needed proof that category management truly is a global essential requirement for successful business, we proved it again. Okay, so I think the whole idea of having some global platform to allow people to learn from each other, regardless of their current level of development of category management, I think is critical. I mean, we don't need any more proof that the basic concept of a global network of category management professionals has real value. There's no question about that, okay? Secondly, I think that, you know, it does also reinforce the idea that category management has been and remains a critical component of our ability to adapt to the new world of digitalization, of e-commerce, of artificial intelligence, of sustainability, et cetera, et cetera. You know, category management is a fundamental business building block. And if you look at that chart that Declan showed you of the waves of category management being a critical turning point in the evolution of retail marketing, that was 30 years ago. It hasn't changed. You know, category management continues to adapt, of course, but it also continues to be a fundamental foundation stone for how retailers and manufacturers do their business. And you know what, as I've said many times before, if you think about our business, it's so dynamic, you know, very, very dynamic business. It's very unusual that one idea would last 30 years without somehow becoming obsolete, right? Category management, to me, I've always said, is so unique in that sense that here we are 30 years later from when we started to talk about it, it's still recognized as absolutely fundamental to success, okay? I can't think of anything else in our business that has that kind of status, okay? And not only that, but global. A single way of thinking has become a global reality. You know, like a lot of other things get adapted region by region, country by country, because there are differences. Well, category management has proven to be something which has applicability across a global stage. Okay, the same general set of principles, the same general set of steps to do it, with some minor adjustments, but the basic concept hasn't changed since the very beginning. Okay, and that's great for us because it allows us to have a kind of a common platform around which to build an organization, to have our conversations globally. Okay, if you think of the case studies, we had case studies from China, from Brazil, as well as from European countries, from Canada. All those case studies basically were based on the same set of fundamental principles. The same set of principles. It wasn't like there wasn't a single case study that said we got rid of all the principles and we used a different approach. Every case study said we used the principles and the approach, and we came up with very, very impressive results. And that's something that just needs to be shared. So I think that's my first comment. I think in terms of areas, there's no question. There's a couple that have always been close to me. Education is one of them. Okay, because let's face it. I mean, we can hear wonderful stories and listen to great ideas, et cetera, et cetera. But in the end, people have to be educated to be able to do this work, to learn from others how better to do the work, and then move forward. So one of the areas that are on this list that's really excited me is the opportunity to continue education, to continue to raise the level of skill and development in our industry across the world through this network. So I think that's a very important one. I'm also very excited about, and Luke mentioned this, the use of category management in an omni-channel world, to me is correct. Now, we had a couple of very good case studies, which I don't know, Declan, whether we'll have an opportunity to present them or not. But there were case studies that prove conclusively that category management works just as effectively in an omni-channel setting as it does in a single channel setting, right? So I think I do believe, I think that'll be an area where we continue to expose good stories through our Catman network. Because there are some excellent stories and capabilities being built around how do you omni-channelize category management? How does category management play in an omni-channel setting? So that's another area, Declan, that I'm particularly excited about. Some of the others, I think, like the global network of category management professionals, to me, is kind of important because, let's face it, there really isn't a global category management network of professionals. Yes, there are by countries, of course, there are by countries. In the US, there is a US category management group, has been around for many years, but it's not global. The ability to have a global reach of category management professionals who can link to each other, can talk to each other individually if necessary, to know their experiences and be able to share them. To me, that's a very powerful global force that really continues to provide a platform for sharing and development of category management. So there's some of the areas, Declan, that I'm very, very excited about in the Catman network idea.
Yeah, can I add to that, Brian? Just one small thing. You know, category management in the omni-channel is going to be one of the more critical aspects. We all know how e-commerce is developing, and you know, category management in terms of the tactics is about pricing, promotion, you know, assortment, efficient product introduction. Just look at Amazon. How many items do they have on their web? 60 million, opposed to a store between 20 and 50,000, if we're talking a hypermarket. So, you know, the game is totally different. Brand presence, which is the goal of every brand when working a category management plan, is how is my product going to be found by the consumer? In the e-commerce world, what is the digitalization, you know, this aspect, the digital readiness is going to be very critical when we're applying category management. You know, the digital part, the targeting, the recommendation, the apps around it, the information around the product, you know, all of this follows exactly the 8 steps, but the content of that work, the insights around that are changing. And this only, my dear friends, you know, the participants here and all those that plan to it should motivate you to be part of this group, because this is going to be a revolution. And Brian is right, the structure and the steps and the way we look at this is the same, bringing the consumer to life in the category. But there is so much change with regard to the value drivers of the consumer, where she is shopping, why she is shopping, what the user occasions are, and what these multi-channels and the omni-channels and opti-channel, you know, and on your mobile, switching from consumer to shopper in a fraction of a second, and how to make sure that your product shows up when you click on Amazon. That is the key point in category management for a lot of small and mid-sized companies. I know the big guys think about this, but we have millions of small and mid-sized companies that have to learn about this, and this connects with the education that Brian is putting forward also. So, dear friends, a lot of work is in front of us that we have to share with each other. Declan, back to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Luke and Brian, you charged me full of enthusiasm. I'm ready to burst out of this door and get going at it.
Well, Declan, the other thing is, speaking for Luke and myself, we are absolutely committed to invest our time, expertise, and resource into making this a success. You can count on that, okay?
Yes.
Well, that's a terrific endorsement and a great opportunity for everybody on board. I do see a hand up from Sarah. I'm not too sure, Sarah, whether you have a question, and I'm happy to unmute you if you do, Sarah. I don't know whether that was intentional or not. Perhaps not, perhaps not. Okay, well, Brian, Luke, look, thanks very much. What I would say to everyone out there is please feel free to contact me with any comments, feedback, recommendations. We wish to outline to you today our thoughts, the direction which we're thinking of going. We have been in conversation, not only Luke, Brian, and I, but with a broader steering group in ECR Community that consisted of my co-chair in ECR Community, Birgit, but also some representatives have been involved in the review, Antonella, Francoise, Sophia, Marilyn, to name but a few. So please do come back with us with any advice that you have and let us know whether it's a direction you think worthwhile. Certainly the feedback in terms of our survey and from what we're hearing from Brian and Luke today would make us feel as though it is. Look, a lot of thanks today to George and to Alessia. Another two outstanding case studies, really well presented, which is not easy to a global audience. Make such brilliant presentations appear so simple and easy to understand, but they did that very accomplishedly. Our next webinar we have scheduled is for November the 9th, where we're off to Brazil and Ireland. Barbara, who I know was part of the call earlier on, from Nestlé Brazil, will be talking about developing and implementing an infant nutrition category business plan to maintain growth and development in the Brazil drugstore and pharmacy channel. So we talked earlier on about let's try and broaden to different channels. Here we have a presentation on pharmacy, and I know Heineken Ireland, who presented in the review, where they talked about the zero zone. Now things have moved on quite a lot since they presented the zero zone. So they may well present the zero zone, and they may well combine it with some in-store activation. I'm just clarifying, confirming that with Heineken Ireland. And there's a couple of others that we've just sent, just checking to see whether they're available to present on November the 9th. So you can be guaranteed at least 2 case studies. A maximum of 3 or 4 case studies, and we will have final recommendations on the Catman Network 2022 on November the 9th. My last call out is, if you want to be involved in the ECR Community Steering Group Catman Network, I will circulate the slides today. You are aware of the direction we're thinking in and the kind of people we're looking for the steering group. Don't be shy about coming forward. We will have sponsorship packages. They're going to be very reasonable, we think. That's our plan and our expectation. So please do come forward if my emails don't reach you, and please feel free to reach out with myself, Brian or Luke. Brian and Luke, has been a pleasure as always. George and Alessia, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining in. Take care, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Declan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.